To all of our comrades that have fallen.
To our fallen comrades.
To our fallen comrades. I was trying to come up with something poignant. I can't believe you're drinking that. Oh,
it's good stuff, man. So yes, I don't know what it is. We record on Memorial Day every year. It's not planned. We don't do it on purpose. It's just sort of the way things always tend to fall.
I think it's because it's kind of our Monday thing.
Yeah.
You know, historically we've recorded on Mondays, so Memorial Day always falls on a Monday.
Indeed it does.
And usually if we were in normal working circumstances, we'd have off too. So it's a nice kind of lead in for us for the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, today is, I don't know. I think today more than like this Memorial Day, I think more than any, there's been this like nagging thing about like thanking veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool. Like I appreciate your thanking veterans, but that's not what Memorial Day is.
Didn't we have this discussion last year?
Yeah, we absolutely did.
Memorial Day versus Veterans Day.
And it doesn't get any less annoying. So people, remembered, hopefully you're enjoying yourselves.
Well, the meme that you posted on Facebook today, said it all.
Yeah.
Like that was exactly the point. This is who Memorial Day is for. This is who Veterans Day is for.
Exactly.
Doesn't get any more clear than that. Follow Dave on Facebook. Or you didn't post that in the private Facebook group, did you?
No, that was my regular Facebook.
Okay, so
Philly Dave 75.
Yeah. But anyway, that being said, hello everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, a much more sober Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about when we get to our weeks, but otherwise, sobriety is fine. For the studio audience, that's why.
Yes.
That's why
that bottle was unsealed.
Yeah, that's why it was such a shit show last week.
Yeah. Well, it started off great, and it just got more interesting as the show went on.
It's a celebration.
It was a celebration.
It was. So one time, get tuned up. I haven't been drunk like that in a long time.
Yeah.
So I was due, apparently.
Right. So
and I had a ride home. Thankfully, my lovely wife came and picked me up.
Yep. So you may notice about halfway through the show, maybe about an hour and a half in, I'm furiously texting on my phone as Dave's babbling on about something. That was basically me saying, yeah, Kathy better come and pick his ass up.
Come and get your boy. Because he's a hot mess.
Yeah. So I threw up the bad signal, but it was all good.
Yes.
It was all with good intent. And it ended up being a good night. Kathy came and got her car later on the next day.
The next day. No, it was good. Everything worked out.
It was a good celebration. Now, that being said, as those of you watching on the YouTube right now probably have noticed, episode 150, the audio version is not out yet. By the time you are listening to the audio of this, episode 151, the audio of episode 150 might not be out yet. This is an editing nightmare. And unfortunately, a couple of people's segments are probably going to get cut due to audio issues. It's the breaks, but it's all on YouTube. Yeah, so
it's all on YouTube. See, this is, I tried to tell him, this segmenting of the fucking show.
See, that was good. That part is good. That actually saved some of the segments. It's too much to get into now, but it's just know that for me, for the guy who's very anal about certain things like this, it's going to be a very meticulous process.
And this is when we're actually fixing it in post.
Yes.
Or you are actually fixing it.
I do it every 50 episodes. So, enjoy it when it does come out. But
oh boy, the ATSW drinking game has been posted in the cantina.
Ooh,
I have to.
If
I don't know, should we look at it or not?
If it's anytime Dave says, then
you're fucked.
Dead. You'll be dead.
You're absolutely fucked. You'll be dead. I really try hard with because it irritates me when I listen to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got to fix this.
Well, you've done a couple already just from the.
I know I have, and it's fucking horrific.
Oh, so all right.
Is that centered now?
I'm blowing my wad a little bit here with my week stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and get into this anyway.
All right.
Joe Rogan's been in the news a lot, and I'll get into that when I get more into my week.
Right.
But he had Elon Musk on again. Like this.
Did he get high again?
No, he did not like toke up this time. But I never watched the first one. All I saw were the fucking memes and shit that came out of the first episode that he was in, where he's like, blazing right there, and then he like loses a bunch of fucking jobs right after that. Whatever. So he comes in for the second one. I'm like, oh, this has got to be a good one. I'm sure they're going to address the first one, and they're going to talk about COVID and everything else. Elon Musk is not a good interviewee, man. He was stumbling over his fucking words all the time.
I'll bet not.
He was not very articulate at all.
He's a savant, man. It has nothing to do with his generally speaking, like this here, we've been doing this for 3 fucking years, right?
Yeah.
So if this comes off as being like, hey, we're good in front of the camera, and like that is entirely because of a comfort level between us.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with this. Like,
right.
And we weren't even on camera for a long time.
Yeah, almost a year before we started doing YouTube.
Yeah, and then it was honestly the whole camera bit is more for the chat than it is anything. But outside of this, like being in an environment where I'm on camera and doing stuff like that, it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I think the only times that I was really felt comfortable doing like large scale things was more like teaching larger groups. Like when we'd have opportunities to teach, like 30 to 40 people.
Yeah.
Then I can do that in a group, because if I'm teaching something I'm really comfortable with the subject matter, then it comes off. But even doing that is a little bit terrifying. So I don't blame Elon Musk if he fucking he needs to fucking toke up a little bit to relax just so he can talk normally. Otherwise, he knows people are watching him.
And maybe that's the secret, because this second time around, man, it was hard listening to, just because he would not elaborate on anything. He'd have very short answers, and he kind of humming.
Well, I guarantee he doesn't drop as many as I do.
Probably not. And I think I just dropped a so it's rubbing off on me. God damn it.
What happened to Lunar Girl? Her chat's frozen. Chat thread's frozen. Yeah. Should we talk about Podbelly? Should we talk about Podbelly while they're unfucking their shit?
Right. I just would like to point out that this is a new dynamic that's been added to the show in the last year or so, is the live chat and everything else. If you listen to the audio episodes of the first, I don't know, 50 episodes of the podcast, there was no interacting with
this was it. This was it right here. Until we had Bronco Fed on for episode 50.
Yeah.
This was it.
Yeah.
And the occasional guest that would come in studio.
Mm-hmm. But now we're constantly being distracted by the chat, as I'm sure it's annoying the shit out of the audio listeners. But
hey, let's talk about Podbelly.
Let's talk about Podbelly.
So last week, before I was inebriated to the point of disaster, I had made some. I don't say I made any threats. I would say that I definitely was a little bit upset that when I went to podbelly.com, like we used to, and I did not see the Authentic Star Wars podcast front and center as the number one on there, because that's been my bread and butter, right? I'm happy to report today that when I logged into podbelly.com, All Things Star Wars podcast is represented on the homepage.
It's got to be like a rotating thing.
I believe so. I 100% believe that it's a rotating thing, because even like Sofa King's not even on there out of the 12 that are on there. So you can go to podbelly.com, support podbelly.com and all the other podcasts that are on there. When you go into the site, you got the giant pig screaming at you like, Kevin the Pig, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go click on the Podbelly podcast network, and then it'll bring you to all of the podcasts that are available. And of course, the All Things Star Wars podcast is right there front and center, like it's supposed to be.
So did you know that one of the shows on Podbelly actually interviewed Kevin Smith recently? Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I think it's Sam Culper's show. He nailed a fucking Kevin Smith interview. So
look, I think that if we really tried hard, we'd have no fucking chance. at all. Well, I mean, we could like for a Kevin Smith interview,
Right?
maybe we could leverage, I don't know, New Jersey, like just the Jersey presence, because I don't think any of these other clowns are in New Jersey, are they?
I don't think so. No,
I think we're it.
Potbelly,
So
yeah.
So,
but Kevin Smith lives in California now, anyway. So.
Regardless, it's still fuck. I said it. Drink, bitches. I don't even know if that's the thing. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Great for them. Yeah. Great for them that they could go out there and get a big time interview like that. I'm sure huge numbers. Support all of those guys on the Podbelly network. And when you get there, tell them that the All Things Star Wars podcast sent you.
Yes, please.
And you will
need the exposure.
Do it.
And you will do it. And make the sacrifice.
And I want to talk about that real quick because we had a conversation before we went live about little disappointed in our current RSS feed because we were missing opportunities to be on things like iHeart Radio and Spotify and things like that, which I think we got figured out. Potentially. So we'll have to see from this point forward. If you're listening to this episode 151, and look for us on iHeartRadio or other medium besides.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify's a big one.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Go in there and do a search on it and see if you can find us and let us know if we're not there. And I will be doing the same anyway. But it does bring up the point, like we say we need the exposure, right? The reality is we don't need shit. Right. I mean, the reality is we don't need anything. Yeah. We love our listeners, our dedicated listeners. We love the chat and everything that's going on. That's awesome. And we're going to continue to do this. However, it's one of those things where if we're missing out on an opportunity to reach more people, then fuck, let's do that. I want more people to hear me say, 50 fucking times within 15 minutes. Because that's the drinking game. Then let's fucking do it.
Right. And again, there's probably a huge audience out there for our brand of Star Wars content.
Yeah.
We just have to find a way to reach out and touch them and expose ourselves to them.
Yes. Completely legal.
Yes.
No innuendo there whatsoever. There will be no exposing of Jason's privates.
Yep.
To anyone.
Real quick, just want to give a huge shout out to all of our patrons. Past and present, Tony Ferrari, Camille Donovan, Nick Jackson, Frederick Martin, Big Lovin, Scott Rasmussen, Tactical Swede, Don Solsky, Shotgun Mark, and Avery Morgan. Thank you so much for your continued support, guys. You are the reason why we do this, and you're the reason why we have these new microphones, the headphone amplifier, the new headphones. That's what we do. With anything we get on Patreon, we just put it right back into the show. We don't use that for any personal gain or whatnot. It's all just to make your listening experience better.
Exactly. And, oh, by the way, the mail shit.
Yes.
I brought that up the last episode, right? So we've got the stuff to be able to do the mailing for our Patreon supporters, and it's just a matter of Jason and I sitting down and stuffing envelopes at this point.
And if you want to expedite the process, send me your address again, because it's been buried probably in a sea of messages and texts and everything else. So
all this time where I've been saying like, oh, you got those addresses? Like, yeah, I got them.
I have them. They're buried in my fucking Facebook messages and my texts and everything else. Just send it to me again. Pin that post to the top of the messages so I don't have to go digging, and we'll get it done. And I've got some more ideas. So in addition to some of the ATSW swag, I've got a couple other ideas first of all, to make up for the delay in the delivery of goods.
Indeed.
And I think you'll like it. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. I like it. I have no idea what he's talking about. Hey, we could potentially have a new 5-star review.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah. Take a look, because Ivo G, who I believe is our Bulgarian representative, he said he spent an hour of his life to register and give us 5 stars about 2 weeks ago. And I owe him a beer.
And I appreciate that.
So Jason's looking that up right now. And apparently
dead air is not Dave's expertise.
No. Well, I'm looking at the thing and I'm trying not to say, that's the problem. That's why there's dead air. But truncated silence is going to take all that shit out, right?
Yeah. So we have nothing new as of right now. I know it takes a couple of days sometimes for new reviews to post.
I said it 2 weeks ago.
The last thing I got on here is April 7th, which is a month and a half ago.
All right.
So,
we will track that down, IVOG.
Yep.
And I do indeed owe you a beer or two.
Okay. All right. Can we move on?
Yes. I'm trying to figure out. People are having issues in the chat, and we had that issue with the StreamYard kind of in the beginning.
What kind of issues?
Apparently they're having issues in the chat.
What kind of issues?
Where it's like locking up on them and they have to log out, and they're
So I mean, that's a YouTube thing, though.
I guess.
Okay.
It's not a feed thing.
No, it wouldn't have anything to do with the feed. It'd have to do with YouTube at that point.
Right.
So.
Fucking YouTube.
And fuck YouTube. Oh god, they're pissing me off so bad lately. But I digress. So can we?
Why lately? Why?
Well, lately has been like the last 2 or 3 years. But
okay, well, fair enough.
Again, that's a discussion for another day.
Word.
So this is about the point where we normally get into Star Wars news, but there has literally been nothing since the last time we recorded.
Yeah, it has been a lot of dead air as far as,
and it's all about the Empire 40th anniversary that we talked about last week. Which it's great. It's a big event.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nothing news-wise. Barely anything on the clickbait side either, which is fucking surprising.
Oh, thank God.
So, not that we talk about that anyway.
Right.
So,
but the fact that it exists is annoying enough.
Right. So with that, are you ready to move right into our weeks?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So my new computer finally came in. Holy shit. It's beautiful. I got the 3 monitors going. I bought one of those fucking mounts that's got the 2 monitors and one above it. I fucking, screwed it into my fucking desk and everything else. And oh, it's so great. Top of the line, I decided to get Doom Eternal. That game is fucking sick. Holy shit, dude. That game is fucking awesome. So you and I are the same age.
Yeah.
We grew up with the original Doom.
Yeah.
On like the fucking Windows 3.1.
Yeah, walking through the fucking hallways and doing that shit.
They did such a good job with this game of capturing that same feel of the original Doom, the fast-paced, fucking crazy fucking shooter, combined with modern graphics and modern first-person shooter storytelling.
Right.
You haven't done this in a while, so we're just gonna let this happen. As Lando would say,
it's a dynamite taste. Somebody's got the music going outside. You hear that?
Well, it's kind of hard to hear anything over your point of the Diet Coke. But yeah, Doom Eternal, fucking awesome game. Holy shit. And I got that shit turned up to max, to fucking ultra graphics. And it's supposed to be like the top of the line fucking PC game right now.
Yeah.
So,
no issues whatsoever?
No slowdown, no hangups, no nothing.
I need a new desktop.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it a lot previously. The fact that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is supposed to come out. And the specs came out for that. And that's kind of what I'm going to gear towards is having something built so that I can run Flight Simulator at max capacity. Like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to fucking be the tits. I'm going to dial it to 11 and that's the machine I want to have running.
Like you want to be flying over Philly and you want to look down and you want to see the fucking Ready Terminal Market down there.
Yeah, I want to fucking be flying over my house and see a goddamn pool in the backyard. You know what I mean? That's the kind of shit that I want to see. Of course, and maybe I'll actually do something like all these years, right? Microsoft Flight Simulator, I've had, I'm an aviation nerd and all these years I've had Microsoft's Flight Simulator and never did anything except fly a fucking Cessna 172. like legitimately, like they have all these other fucking airplanes and there's people doing all this shit and fucking doing that. And like, no, I'm just fucking like, it's for me, it was like, oh, it's a free flight. I'm going to go to my local fucking aerodrome. I'm going to fucking hop into 172 and do like 2 hours of pattern work down in Ocean City and fly back. Like literally the most boring shit ever. I want to spend thousands of dollars to do said boring shit because I can't get my class 3 medical. So I can't go fly airplanes. Yeah. So I want to be able to do it virtually.
Fuck yeah. And I mean, with technology the way it is, man, it's so realistic these days and it's almost as good as it's ever going to get.
Scott says, will Jason keep the computer up to date, or will he not allow any updates like he does his iPhone?
Well, that's funny because if you look like 3 fucking chats prior to that, they're talking about how a YouTube update on the iPhone fucked up the YouTube feed. So no, I won't be keeping it up to date because of shit like that.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you're in cybersecurity.
We'll get into that. But for now, so I didn't actually talk about the shot glass last week. So those of you who were watching, watch me do a lot of shots out of this Star Wars classic original trilogy Star Wars shot glass. So Kristen's at Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, no, that's new. That's BB-8 in there. It's in the old style though. In the
right, it's got
style.
That 77 Polaroid-esque type.
Anyway, Kristen's at fucking Walmart 2 weeks ago now, and she's in the clearance section and she sees this fucking shot glass, Star Wars shot glass. She's like, "Ooh, Jason would probably like that." No price tag on it. No nothing.
All right.
She's like, "Okay, I'll take it up to the front counter." It's Walmart. They'll probably just be like, "I'll charge you 50 cents for it," or something like that.
Right.
And she gets up there and she gives it to the lady. Well, there was no price tag. It was in the clearance rack. And the lady's like, "Oh, I love shot glasses. I collect shot glasses." And Kristen's like, "Fuck," inside, So, but ultimately, she talked the lady down to like $2. So, got this classic style Star Wars shot glass for $2 from Walmart.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Kristen. Cheers.
God, an insane person. We talked a lot about the Jaeger before, and I'm not going to get into it again. But ugh. Here's what ails you, though.
Yeah, indeed it does. So we were talking about Joe Rogan earlier. In some of my downtime recently, I've been really catching up on a lot of the Joe Rogan stuff. Been listening to a lot of his backlog, even some of his more recent stuff. Like he just had Tony Hawk on there. Who'd have thought 3 hours of listening to him talk to Tony Hawk? Very interesting. I've never given a shit about skateboarding my entire life, even when I was a fucking teenager. Though Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was one of the best fucking video games ever made. Regardless, fascinating conversation. So apparently Joe Rogan just signed this exclusive deal with Spotify in the last week or two for like $100 million fucking dollars to be exclusive on fucking Spotify. So I don't know how that's going to affect people who listen to him on iTunes and all that. I don't know if that feed's just going away.
It'll probably go away.
I've even heard like his feed on YouTube is going away.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be big if that happens. So something to keep an eye on. But fucking Joe Rogan, he's the godfather right now.
Yeah.
Of podcasting. Like no shit. He gets all the best fucking guests. He has such an interesting show. The conversations they get into.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't had an opportunity to listen to Joe Rogan, like any of his podcasts because
ever.
No. Recently.
Okay.
I used to listen to him a lot, but then like when we started doing the podcast and like, cause he's been podcasting for a long time.
Yeah.
Like he was one of my early staples for podcasting. Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, the Monday morning podcast. Like those are all just Bill Burr's fucking hilarious. And it's him sitting there by himself, which is is the fucking best. There's no bringing somebody in to fucking bouncing off of. No, it's just him being a fucking jackass for 45 minutes. And Joe Rogan, like you said, he is the godfather of this. Like our friends at the Sofa King podcast, they built up a lot of their street cred on the back of Joe Rogan. And, and if he goes to just Spotify, right, I think that bodes well for podcasts in general.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with all of this.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he would be doing something like that because he still does some comedy shit, right?
He also still does some commentary on fucking MMA. Shit like that. So
that's the type of shit though that he'd be at that fucking MMA match anyway. He's like, I'm going to be there anyway. I might as well fucking sit there and sit in front of a microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because he worked out and he was into that shit. Again, really fascinating. Like I learned about MMA through Joe Rogan.
Right.
That I was able to digest it a lot easier. And I don't know. I was afraid at some point that podcasting was kind of being usurped by the YouTube movement. And even when we were having discussions about going and doing our thing on YouTube, that was part of it. It was like, if we don't get on YouTube and kind of maximize this visibility, then we may fall so far behind that we won't be able to. It just won't be worth doing it.
Sure. Yeah.
And now with something like this, holy shit! Like it means that podcasts are doing so much better than you would have thought.
This article I read, apparently, I don't know how true this is, or like if this is some sort of like, some numbers being fudged. Apparently, he gets like 190 million downloads a month.
I believe it.
That's a lot of fucking downloads.
I believe it.
Holy shit.
I haven't listened to a Joe Rogan podcast probably in a year. I still download it. Yeah. Like it's still in my fucking iTunes as one of the ones that downloads. Because I'm one of those people, since we do a podcast, that all the people that I do subscribe to, I'll make sure that I'm active on that list.
Right.
Because, it'll fucking fuck. There's this it's a fucking delay that I'm putting on myself for the fucking, so fuck you. Anyway, iTunes will stop downloading at some point if you're not listening to it.
Right.
So I go in there and Joe Rogan and Bill Burr and Sofa King guys and all that stuff. All these, I don't have enough time in the world to listen to all the podcasts I'm subscribed to.
Especially now that we're not commuting.
Yes, that's the hardest part. Like getting this book finished was nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Because I was not commuting. Most of the bulk of me listening to the book was done on a commute. A few times I went on the base.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're talking about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, no, I think that this deal that he signed with Spotify is huge for podcasters, even if it's just, little rinky dink shows like us.
Yeah.
Any exposure like that is good. And the fact that they're willing to give him $100 million fucking dollars, it's probably like a 10-year deal. Probably very similar to the one Stern signed when he joined Sirius back in the day. But
and they still Sirius, they were dead without Stern.
Yeah.
Absolutely dead. And I think that they're doing, I don't know. I remember Chuck Brinzer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had when they were doing the IPO for Sirius XM, and we bought it. It was like, yeah, what the fuck? Why not? Right? He because the Stern thing was happening. We're like, oh, this is going to take off, right?
Sure.
So we bought into it, and then like something happened. Like after a year, I think it went, and the fucking stock went boom.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it took a huge shit.
Oh damn.
And thankfully, I got out of it like before it, because I was like, I don't know about this. And as a Sirius XM listener, like I have it in the car. It's good for background music because I hate terrestrial radio at this point.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't listened to that in decades.
It's so awful. There's so many fucking commercials, and then the fallacy. One of the biggest lie ever told on terrestrial radio is that 2 hours commercial free. Like starting from when?
Yeah.
Like you keep telling me that you're doing 2 hours commercial free. How about you shut the fuck up and play music?
Right. Well, what they didn't tell you was those 2 hours are from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Oh yeah. So no, I'm stoked. Yep. I think, and something like this is good for podcasting.
Yep, indeed. So I talked about this a little bit last week. My professional crisis is still continuing. I've pretty much now sold myself on the fact that I'm retiring next year from the military. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those things, kind of like compared to the way society has progressed and the way society and things are going. I feel like it's all kind of passed me by. Same with the military. It was great while I was in. It serves its purpose, but I think it's passed me by, and I think it's just time to move on. So that's kind of where I feel like I am at this point. It's still a great thing. I still encourage anybody who's considering it to join. It gave this fucking 19-year-old kid who had no ambition, no fucking goals, no track in life whatsoever from a little podunk oil town in Bakersfield, California, some direction.
Right.
It kind of put me on the fucking path to adulthood, and I will never knock the military ever. But my time is over. That's pretty much what I've come to the conclusion of.
And look, this is something that I went through as well, where my military career didn't end the way I wanted it to.
Mhm.
Like there was a lot of things towards the maturation process into the military, that going from the lower ranks where you were learning your job, then you got to a point where you were good at your job, and then suddenly now you're trying to be a manager from an enlisted standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Spending 20 years in the military there's a reason that not everybody does it, right? Because it's fucking maddening.
It is.
You are all you need is one bad commander, one bad senior enlisted leader, and that will ruin the entirety. Like everything that you've built, all the rapport you've built and everything else can be devastated by one bad commander.
Yeah.
And in the civilian world, when you have a bad supervisor, like ultimately the almighty dollar is what's at stake. So if that supervisor's bad and everybody around it goes like, this guy's a piece of shit, we're not going to work for him anymore, that guy's going to move on.
Yeah.
Like, because that's going to affect the bottom line. And that shit happens. Bad managers get fucking flushed out because the people underneath them, I mean, this isn't for everybody, but I'm generalizing for what we are coming from a military standpoint and what we would go into.
Yeah.
You're going to get to a point where like those bad managers go away because the job is to make money. If you're not making me money, then you're going to go away.
Whereas it seems like, especially the unit that we've come from, the bad people just kind of fail upwards, and it just gets worse and worse with each fucking regime. And I'm done, man.
My experience with active duty, I've been super, super fortunate. We're getting ready to have a chain command next week. The leadership that I got into when I joined this unit, when the KC-10, fucking phenomenal. How they can go up from where they are, to me, that's what scares me. Is like whoever comes in after this leadership team that's been in there, this particular commander, this guy cared so much about everybody in this squadron that, and I don't know that anybody will be able to do the same way. I hope it's the case. I really do. But it's one of those things where you kind of got to brace yourself for a little bit of slack in that fucking line as you fall backwards a little bit. But again, you're in a situation in the military where the tendency for a leader is, it's a fucking booger that doesn't get flicked.
Yeah.
It's unless somebody gets killed, then they'll fail upwards. And they'll make like lieutenant colonel. Then they're like, oh fuck, what are we going to do with this guy? We can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
He's so close to the end of his career. Well, we got to do something like, well, we'll make him squadron commander over here. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, I don't know. How about ruin dozens of people's lives on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
Like directly. And then by that person, by shitting on you and making you so fucking frustrated, you can't help but have that fucking trickle down to the people that are underneath you.
Yeah.
And that's the military is designed, the United States military anyway, Air Force, Army, whatever, it's designed to be like, you do one stint, cool, and I'm out. If you're like, you know what, I want to stay in a little bit longer, get some leadership stink on me, become an NCO, then fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah.
You get to that 10-year point where it's like, okay, I'm either going to stay in and try and finish this out, or most people get out.
Most get off the pot at that point.
Most people don't do what we've done in the United States military. Most don't. And this is why. That, not to mention what it does to your body.
Yeah.
Like just the fact that we're 40-year-old and we're in our mid-40s, or I'm somebody that was in my mid-40s as I'm retiring, trying to keep up with a fucking standard that is unrealistic.
Right.
And it took its toll on my fucking body. Not to mention all the other bullshit. So,
well, and the mental state and the stress. Like, it's probably going to take 10 years off of my life from the stress that I've had to go through alone.
Easily.
So that's...
Well, the good news is, Jason, that we have our weekly fireside fucking podcast therapy session to be able to talk some of the stuff out. Oh my God. I found another cut on my hand.
So Dave's pulling a Kevin McAllister right now. He put on fucking hand sanitizer, not realizing he had some cuts on his fucking hands.
Fuck. Anyway.
So my last bullet point that I have, and this is actually going to involve you. because my oldest son, Rob, he texted me today and he wants a knife. Never has had any inclination. Thank you. I'll give you some of this ice if I can have one of your sodas.
Yeah.
All right. He is never.
Thank you.
Thank you. He has never. He's never talked about having a knife or a gun or anything like that. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue today, he's like, first of all, his first text to me was, if I promise not to kill anyone, can I buy a karambit? And my first response to that was, I don't know what that is. So he sends me this picture.
God.
So it's this like curved fucking knife. It looks like it's used to like fucking gut somebody.
It looks like a claw.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, what are you going to do with it? I'm like, you can't take it to fucking school. You'll get expelled. He's like, well, what if we have a home invader? I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess that's valid, but that's the full Amazon page.
Okay.
And he's been bugging me all day. He's like, can I get it? Can I get it? I'm like, I'll tell you what. Dave's coming over later today. He's the knife guy. He's always got at least a couple of knives on him at any point in time.
Right.
I've seen him get stopped at the airport multiple times for knives that he's trying to go through fucking security with.
I've lost more knives to the fucking TSA than I care to think about.
So I'm like, all right, I will let Dave make the decision. Yeah. So looking at that knife, that weird fucking curved knife that looks like it's meant to fucking gut animals or humans.
Listen, it's garbage steel. Okay. With a plastic handle. I mean, I would not like this.
He told me it was $15, so that was like a big red flag right there. I'm like,
yeah, it's
$15 for this thing.
Look, there's a whole subreddit just solely dedicated to inexpensive knives.
Right.
And what I would say is, like, I have developed a rather expensive taste in knives because we've gotten issued them and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would start with that. I mean, that's cool. It's sexy looking. It's got it's very kind of medieval. You know, it's got something you would pull out of your fucking D&D shit, right?
Right.
But has zero practicality whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like none. You can't fucking. Oh, that's it. That's what I mean. Oh, well, you got to.
It's hard to gauge because it's not clear. Ask for glass, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Beggars can't be choosers, right?
Exactly. I can make recommendations for what would be a good, something that has some practicality. Like they're tools. Let's face it, Rob, if you're listening, I have a lot of knives. In fact, I was going to talk about it in my week, but my plan is I'm going to start doing some stuff on YouTube, little 10-minute shorts, just going over my knife things.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because
I'm intrigued.
I have dozens of knives, and yeah, it's stupid. But
and again, on more than one occasion, I have witnessed him getting stopped at airport security and having a knife confiscated.
Yep.
Because he tried to get it through security.
Well, it's not even that. I forgot. I forgot it was there. The story in fucking Dallas with the oh god, that was a beautiful knife.
Yeah.
Oh, wood handles, nice fucking stainless steel. Fuck you, Dallas, the fucking TSA. I had no idea. Anyway, I would say, if we're trying to keep something inexpensive and still want something that looks like a knife and not a Swiss Army knife, I can probably make some recommendations. But that thing, even carrying it would be awkward.
So it's a no from Dave.
I would say on that particular knife, no.
Okay.
I will make some recommendations,
okay,
and then I will keep it in that general price range, and then we'll talk.
All right, fair enough. So that being said, let's move right into your week. What a segue.
Yeah, that was a great segue. So, cue the celebration music. Oh, I want it to be playing so bad. I finished this fucking semester. Right now, I finished my last class, air quote, at Embry-Riddle.
Nice.
All I have left is the capstone. So yesterday, we were talking about it a little bit before we came on the air. I did some fucking panic submitting of things that I so I don't like not getting A's.
Mm-hmm.
That calculus, like that kicked me in the dick a little bit for my calculus grade because it brought my GPA down. So I was a little upset about that. So I kind of had a case of the fuckets. I vote G.
I saw that too. I was gonna respond.
Oh God,
he's really been on you about your weeks.
Yeah, he is. Hey, I barely had one last week. So I'm finished with school. I was dicking around with the fucking grades, and I usually I'm not the type of person who won't submit something. Like if there's assignments that are due, I'll submit everything. Not every one of them is going to be fucking Pulitzer Prize winning, but at least it's submitted.
Yeah.
This is the first semester where I was like, I am picking, like, I'm so far behind that I'm not going to do that so I can catch up on the rest of the stuff.
Right.
So there was a handful of assignments that I didn't turn in. And I still had like, I had B's, borderline A's. Mm-hmm. And then I went through, I'm like, you know what? Let me go through what would you can go into fucking Canvas is what Embry-Riddle uses. So you can go in there and dick around with the grades and like see if I got a 50 out of 100 on this assignment, what would it do to my grade? And it would have it goes from a B to an A for just turning in garbage. Right. So I ended up fucking panic.
And garbage for Dave is like bullshitting into like a B plus at a minimum. So
unfortunately I'm good at it.
Yeah. Well, we both learned from some of the best bullshitters in the world. So.
Yes. So, but all that being said, school's over. All I have left is the capstone. Started sneak peeking into the fucking capstone. It's a 25 fucking page paper that I have 9 weeks to get done. Like there's a couple of elements that I have to get turned into the professor. But it's not a true class. Like there's no weekly assignments or anything else. They're like, here, when it's your abstract, when it's this, when it's that, certain milestones. And ultimately at the end of the day, it's like a 25 page paper. I've decided I'm going to do the fucking KC-46 procurement.
Nice.
Because it's a capstone, right? So it's the entirety of my aviation degree.
Which thankfully that was like a 20-year fucking process.
Oh God.
So
between the
you've got a long time to write about.
Yeah, it's a long time. And there's all kinds of shit. The procurement process, the fucking failures on the actual aircraft itself. With the RVS system and the fucking cargo loading, right. All that shit. Tons of stuff to write on. I'm kind of looking forward to it. There's some research that I'm looking forward to doing. Yeah. Because ultimately, the job I'm in right now, I'm going to have to be the fucking training coordinator for the KC-46 when it shows up. Yeah. So might as well fucking do my homework now and get some credit for it. So
let me know if they have any standout jobs popping up in the next
year. We just hired a fucking standout contractor.
Did you?
Yeah, they hired a guy to take my place.
Oh, nice.
When I got the GS job. But definitely, you'll know. Okay. So yeah, I got a 1 week reprieve, and this week is going to be I'm going to catch up on playing some video games because I haven't fucking played a video game in fucking forever. Console shit, like I don't have the hardware to run anything decent. Unlike fucking Captain over here.
Yeah, well, I had to use my Trump money for something. You decided to like put it into your house and do renovations and all that stuff. Where I put it into something important like a gaming computer.
Thankfully, my wife runs the finances in the house because otherwise I would have a brand new computer right. And I'd have so many more pops.
Right.
But I digress. Yeah. So speaking of putting shit into the house. Finished the paver project that I think I had started talking about, like all the digging out and everything else, and digging and leveling and fucking. I moved 50-pound paver sand or paver base. They call it. Yeah, I hate sand. That's why it's in the fucking. Of
course, it's rough. Gets into everything.
Dude, you don't realize how heavy 50 pounds is until you're fucking moving that bag 8 times, and then. Taking 23 50-pound bags of fucking sand and moving all those bitches. Yeah, it's sucked balls. But it's the bulk of that is done. Like we are doing a bunch of work in the house because with COVID and everything else and kind of being restricted to the house, we're like, all right, we've been putting off a lot of stuff. We haven't really put much money into like doing stuff on the outside. Let's start, investing in something that we want to spend our time at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we've been doing. And oh my God, I'm so fucking exhausted. I'm so tired. And I can tell you right now that Kathy, she was working on this paper project all day. She's still working on it probably right now.
Yeah.
And
while you're here podcasting.
While I'm here podcasting, fucking, drinking Diet Cokes and talking about Star Wars, she's still working. But the gloriousness that is the Pops.
Mm-hmm.
We have an addition.
Oh, new pop. All right. I have
a new pop. So I'm going to hand Jason the box. I had already cut it
in the box.
So
it's the child.
Yeah. So back when these first came out, like the first announcement was made. When they first said that, hey, they're going to come out with these things. So when was it? Like in October or something? It was like
not long after he was revealed in the first episode. Like they were immediately on that.
Right. So the pre-orders were happening all over the place. And like being a good pop collector, myself and Big Swede, we fucking pre-ordered all over the place, right? Okay. Because you're going to guarantee you get one or two, So cool. Fucking pre-order. And I pre-ordered all this fucking shit. Well, when I handed the reins of my spending back to my wife to fucking, because I was out of control,
right.
All the pre-orders got canceled. Except for one. What? The one you just got. Because it fucking showed up at the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, what the hell is this, right? Cut it open, and it's the fucking Pop. And she's like, where the fuck did that come from? And thank God, like Walmart, well, we use USA for banking, right? And
it is Walmart.
Yeah. And there was a weird charge in the account for like $9 and like for Walmart. And it was it said my name on it. I'm like, don't go to Walmart at all if I can help it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that in a second. B, I did not spend $9 for something to get sent to the house when my in-laws work at Walmart. They could have just fucking bought it and brought it home. Yeah. Right. I had no idea what the fuck it was. And as it turns out, they used an old card. Like we had had our cards compromised. So it was a card that had been shut off. It got charged. Like when the day it delivered, the charge came through with the old card number. So
Amazon does that too.
Yeah, and so there's actually deals with the card companies, like if it's Visa or MasterCard or whatever, that buyer beware, people. Like if you think that if you cancel your card, that that's cool. Anything that I won't get charged anything after this fact.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily going to be the case. So really got to be careful with shit like that, especially subscriptions. Like if you change cards, that it's the deals that they have with Visa and MasterCard that it's an older card number. It's an older code, sir, but I was about to let them through.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. I just inhaled a fucking gnat. Legitimately. Nice. I pray to God it was on the camera.
It's all right. It's protein. It's good.
God damn. Anyway. So, yeah. The benefit of all that was I got a Pop out of it that I wasn't expecting. It was a little surprise.
Hell yeah. And of course, it's Baby Yoda.
It's Baby Yoda.
Have Baby Yoda. If you're going to have a Pops collection, you have to have Baby Yoda.
So, and Big Swede, I, kind of did a little side door thing. I was like, okay, Big Swede, order one for me. That way I know at least I'm going to have one. So he has one for me that will
come out of the box?
Probably.
Or, I mean, you can keep it in the box, and there's probably some resale value down the line.
Dude, if you're a Pop collector, right, we could do an entire podcast just on Pops, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't even touched. Like, this wall of Pops that are here, and if you're only listening to the podcast, you never really look to see anything on YouTube, like, there are a considerable amount of Pops on this wall.
Right. But I mean, if you look, like the numbering system, that's just Star Wars pops, right? That's not like every pop.
Right.
This number 327 Cara Dune,
Right.
that's the 327th Star Wars pop, right?
If that's even accurate, because even that is like, some of the numbering just does not make sense. Sometimes it's just the series that comes out. Like if you look at all the Knights of Ren that are up there, it's 331 to 335.
Right.
I'm still missing that one. I have to get it.
You do.
I'm going to have to get it, and it's fucking expensive now.
Earmuffs, Kathy.
Well, I have an allowance. Listen, listen.
Oh, that went up my nose.
I believe me, it was a necessity, and I do not.
Hey, I'm not judging. I just thought it was funny the way you.
Yes.
The way you
hey,
it like that.
That sometimes that's what's happening? I'm holding the kitchen table like Michael Jackson in the Earth video. Please, Dave. I don't know.
Oh, he's talking about the Earth Song video. Michael Jackson did a song. I think it was called Earth Song.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty good song. And the music video, he's like being like blown by this massive gust of wind, and he's fucking grabbing like these 2 fucking trees or something. He's like, you know. So,
anyway, yeah. So more to follow on the pops, but I was saying the Funko app. You have the app. You go track all of the pops. You can have your wish lists on there. It'll tell you what the value of that pop is at that particular moment. And I think that one that I spent $9.36 for, I think is already like somewhere around $30 on the resale. So
nice.
Yeah. Thankfully, not a lot of people know where you live. They come in and take
the Sacred Jedi pops.
Yes, the Sacred Jedi pops.
That's all right.
You know, I was gonna spend a minute to talk about Memorial Day and like mental health. This is we already talked about Memorial Day, but you know, it's funny you're talking about like the little depression sets in. We're like, fuck, yeah, the future, like you're in something that you don't want to be in, and you can't get out of it soon enough. But the other side of that is a little bit scary and all that stuff.
Yeah, it leads to some pretty shitty feelings.
It does. The uncertainty of all of it is really, really scary. And I will say that yesterday, I had a really bad day. Yeah. I had a bad mental health day. And, you know, I thought about it after the fact, like after calming down. I'm still like, I had a bad day to the point where I got my blood pressure to a point where I'm still recovering from it, like that type of thing. Here's the reality. It's okay. Like you're going to have bad days. There's going to be that level of uncertainty and everything else. And there's going to be a point where you just can't talk yourself down from it. And that's when you have to talk to somebody else.
Yeah. And
that's why I really, really try, like on the podcast, to not hide the whole mental health thing, because I go through a lot of shit. I'm on medication, and I have therapy and all the other stuff, and it helps. Is it the best all the time? No, it's not a kind of one-stop. It's not a one-stop shop, but it's definitely for people that are out there listening that get into that mode, especially now. Like, think about the New York Times article that they posted with 100,000 names of the people that died from this fucking virus. 100,000 people, like that was their front page. Yeah. And it's like, holy shit. And then you think about all those people that are like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. It's like, oh God, just wear a fucking mask and shut up. But there's still facilities out there. There's still, phone numbers to call. There's outreach for everything, even when we're in social distancing and everything else. And you can't be afraid to reach out. We have, thankfully, I think for me, it helps that I'm coming to the podcast and be able to bullshit and, have a beverage and talk about something I love. It helps. Yeah. It helps to have this to come to.
Absolutely. So it's funny that you mentioned all this. The ultimate irony of my situation specifically You know, I've been seeing a therapist for the last several months also. One of the biggest weird things that I have in my fucking head, I hate talking on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do I hate it, I intentionally avoid talking on the phone as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
There is something about it that just makes me feel uneasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when all this COVID and social distancing and all this stuff kicked off, and I even talked about this with my therapist too, by the way.
Right.
Like I told him, like, I do not like to talk on the phone when my mom calls me, when my dad calls me, my brother, my sister. I try to avoid it. I love them so much. I miss them incredibly, but I don't want to talk to them on the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. So anyway, COVID kicks off, and then my therapist calls me up. He's like, so we're going to move to phone appointments. I'm just like, call me back when this whole thing is over. So that's kind of where I am with that. So I haven't talked to the guy in months.
But Ed, it might be worth getting a different guy, somebody that the video thing is not bad.
Well, no, and that's what he was like talking about, like FaceTime, all that kind of shit, like that type of video. But even that, I feel uneasy with sometimes.
Yeah.
So
there's certainly aspects of that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think a lot of people do. Yeah. I know for me, it's a location change. Like I actually had to do it in my car.
Yeah.
Because if I was doing it at my desk at home and things are happening and there's constant distractions, like I'm the kind of person that needs to be in that office. I need to be like, okay, I am physically changing my location, going to that location with the mindset that these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And I can't do that when I'm at home. You know, I can't. Oh, like, all right, everybody, shut up. I gotta be on the phone. I gotta fucking do, like, even doing the podcast is a fucking challenge.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Recognizing it is huge, and hopefully you'll get to a point where we get out of this. And but even a 5-minute phone call, check in on your buddies. All I'm saying is, it's okay. Everyone, we have these feelings. Reach out and call somebody, message us, and we'll bullshit with you. But yeah, this is the last podcast in Mental Health Awareness Month. There's your PSA, and I'm done. OG, how long was that?
I'm sure he's got a stopwatch going.
It is.
So
he's holding on. I
guess we're ready to move into the main topic today, then, right?
Are we? Do we? Is there things that have to happen first? Things with signs.
Are you telling me that there's things?
I'm just saying that this is a natural stopping point when, like, you're consuming beverages at an increased rate.
Well, hold on, let me move this over here.
I'm
you take it.
I'm just saying, it should be in the notes that we're going to take a potty break.
Right.
Honestly.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I was good, but Dave thinks that we should take a break.
Dave is older than you, and he's
got like 9 months on me.
I'm older than you, and at least my body is definitely, I have the body of a fucking 85-year-old man and the bladder to go with it. So if I'm 3 Diet Cokes into this conversation, so it's got to go somewhere.
All right. Well, then we will be right back and get to our main topic after this word from our sponsors.
Escape Pod just checked in.
Ow! Escape Pod!
God damn it.
So it's weirding me out that it's light outside later and later in the day. Like, I think it was a couple days ago. It was like 8:30 at night. And it was still bright enough to go out and take the dogs for a walk. Like, we've got this road right on the other side of the house that goes along the train tracks, goes down half a mile. And me and the wife, we grabbed the dogs, and because I needed to get out of the fucking house because this COVID thing is driving me fucking nuts. I'm normally an introverted guy. I normally like being at home, never leaving, but even I'm getting just fucking stir crazy here. So anyway, a couple nights ago, it's like 8:30. I look outside and there's still some light out. I'm like, fuck, let's grab the dogs and go for a walk. I need to get out of this fucking house. And yeah, we did that. And it was nice, but it's it's weird when you're making that initial transition because you're so used to the fucking winter, especially here in the Northeast. It's fucking cold all the time. You're inside all the time. Sun goes down at like fucking 6 o'clock. It's the time when you get to work, it's dark, and when you leave work, it's dark. God, that is the worst. So
fucking hate it.
So you make that transition to now when the sun doesn't go down until almost 9 o'clock, which is great. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but it's just weird and it takes some getting used to.
I love it. Although it does throw me off.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not gonna lie. It's been throwing me off, but I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I welcome it, but at the same time,
yeah. What's bad is when I'm ready to go to bed and it's still light out. Yeah. Like, fuck, I can't go to sleep yet. It's a dynamite taste. What we got? What's up, Escape Pod? These videos include throwing knives at targets. No. So I have all these knives, right? And really what it's going to come down to is just like a generalized description. What type of steel it is, what type of action it is for opening, like what I like about it, what I don't like about it, why it's my, like, I'm going to start with my everyday carry, and then roll back and go through just, I'm just going to pick a knife out of the fucking drawer and research that and just do like 10 minutes on the fucking knives. Now, I'm not an editor, right? I'm not like this is if this production.
Play that back. Pull up that video.
Yeah, pull up that video. I can't see me. If I went out there and if I knew that I haven't thrown knives in forever. If I thought that I could fucking go out there and in one take fucking bunk 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 throw some knives into a target, cool. But I won't do that. It would take probably an hour, and then I have to edit out all the fucking misses. And I don't know necessarily want to do that. Maybe I do the throwing knives late. But yeah, it's basically going to be 10 minutes of like, here's the knife, here's what it's made out of, here's how it opens, here's how it closes.
Yeah, and apparently people love those kinds of videos. Like, look at Big Swede and his fucking gun videos.
Yeah.
Apparently he gets huge numbers, far more than we get.
Yeah.
With this, rinky-dink little Star Wars
show.
And
in fairness to us, this is a podcast. It just happens to be on YouTube.
Yep.
And so we can interact with our diehards, and that's why we like it.
Indeed. All right, we ready? We're going to answer that question when we come back from break.
Roger.
All right. 30 seconds of silence starting now. And we're back. So while we were on break, we got a really interesting question that I think we should address before we get to the main topic. Ivo G asked, are we going to see another crawl before a Star Wars movie? So with the Skywalker saga, the 9 movies, we always got the traditional Star Wars crawl.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get it with Solo, didn't get it with Rogue One. And Ivo G wants to know, do we think we're ever going to see that again? And I guess it depends on how old you are, right? When Disney bought out Lucasfilm and they announced all these new Star Wars movies that were coming out, somebody on Twitter made the most interesting and sad and whatever comment all in one sentence. We will never see the last Star Wars movie in our lifetime. Like people like Dave Martin and Jason Roscom and probably Ivo G, Big Lovin', Don Solsky, Luna Girl, none of us will ever see the last Star Wars movie in our lifetime. So, that being said, yes, we will definitely see a Star Wars crawl again at some point. Well, will we see it? I don't know. a human being will see a new Star Wars movie with a crawl and that traditional John Williams score at some point in the history of humanity. It may not be during our lifetimes, but it's going to happen.
Huh. So I'm 180 degrees out of that. I think that with the completion of the Skywalker saga, the burden of having the crawl is now eliminated.
I don't disagree with you, because I think that crawl is tied to that core Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's no fucking way that they don't eventually go back to that well at some point. If they go all SJW, all like, we're doing nothing but making movies about empowered transgender women of color characters, and the viewers start tuning out, then they're going to be like, fuck, all right, let's get back to our roots. We'll go back to the Skywalker saga. We'll pay Daisy Ridley an obscene amount of money 20 years from now to reprise the character of Rey, rebuilding the Jedi Order 20 years later, blah, blah, blah. And we will get episodes 10, 11, and 12. It will happen. I would be willing to put money down, but there's no way to fucking track that, because, like I said, this could conceivably happen 10 to 20 years from now.
Yeah. I just solely from a probability aspect, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney has been around longer than we have.
Yeah.
So the idea that Disney will continue to go on past our lifetime is a little bit scary, quite frankly. But it starts calling the question your own mortality. But at some point, if they continue to do anything with Star Wars, that they would do that. And it does now. It makes you think about, okay, well, what if they just remake the movies?
That's a possibility too,
like they've done with these other ones.
That's all Hollywood is now. It's all sequels and remakes.
Yeah.
So how long until Disney gets desperate enough to it? They're like, fuck, we got to reboot Star Wars. And of course, Luke Skywalker is going to be a female character this time. When they reboot it. In fact, it's going to be an all-female reboot. Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, the Emperor, all female characters.
Chewbacca?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. All females, because that's the thing. Because you reboot a franchise to make it all females, you lose a shitload of money, and then you say that everybody that didn't see your movie is sexist.
We're talking about the Ghostbusters paradigm here.
It's not just Ghostbusters. It's been a lot of things lately. But yes, it's the same fucking pattern that they've been following for, the better part of 4 years now.
So I guess I still think that no. Me from a standpoint of a new Star Wars movie, like something that hasn't already been produced, I don't believe that we'd see another crawl. But you make a very, very valid argument to just the laws of probability of what's going to happen within the franchise, and wanting to go back, wanting to get that nostalgia of, hey, 20 years from now, we're in our 60s and we're looking back and going like, oh, wow, look, there it is. Yeah. Like that, maybe they finally released the fucking theatrical cut. hey, listen, 20 years from now, do you want to fucking get Star Wars fans fucking erect?
Yeah.
Do the theatrical release.
Well, and that's the thing. They know they've always got that in the bag, right? Yeah. They've always got like, fuck, if we ever need money, as opposed to standing on the corner and sucking dick, we can release the theatrical cuts, and we know it's like printing money at that point.
Yeah, it's scary. That's really scary to think about it in that aspect. We've been really fortunate that for Star Wars in our lifetime, over this past 40 years, as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of Empire, that we haven't had to run into that.
Right.
Where we've had original Star Wars content for the most part. And as we get ready to talk about the Summer of Legends with the entirety of the spinoff of the expanded universe, we've been blessed with having so much original Star Wars content. If this High Republic thing takes off, like, so they put out the High Republic and starting this canonical series that's it's even longer time ago, and Galaxy's basically the same galaxy. Then, and that starts taking off. Maybe that's the offshoot. Then the other stuff. I guarantee you, if they make a movie with the High Republic, has no crawl. And if they do make a crawl for that, I say it's a foul.
Yeah.
Because why bother doing it? Because the only reason it's in these fucking movies since the first 3 is just for tradition's sake.
Yeah.
But
it's a good tradition.
I agreed. But if you start making High Republic series and movies and shit like that, and you decide you're going to put a crawl on that, it's unnecessary. You know, all the things that George Lucas started by not having the scroll of who's in the movie before it starts. You know, Lucas was one of the.
Oh, that was a big thing.
That was huge.
Yeah, he got a lot of shit for that.
Yeah, and to fucking basically put his foot in the ground and say, no, this is what this is going to do. This is how this fucking movie is going to start.
So I want to thank Ivo G, by the way, for getting us off on this fucking Disney Star Wars tangent.
Right.
When today, this episode 151 is supposed to be the springboard for the Summer of Legends.
That's right.
So why don't we just pivot from this conversation and get into the Summer of Legends?
Yes.
Specifically, Heir to the Empire. So we've been building this up for quite a while now. And we're going to make the shift, at least until the High Republic stuff starts.
Yeah.
And then we may go back to Disney canon.
At least until fucking Mandalorian comes back on.
Well, that's true. So, and we're starting, perhaps you better start from the beginning. So we're starting with the first piece of expanded universe, Legends material, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Now, in the timeline, they went to periods before this, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. But we're not really going to talk about a lot of that stuff because, you get into the Truce at Bakura, the fucking courtship of Princess Leia that all took place before this. We're not going to touch on that because Heir to the Empire was the first. This is what started everything that came afterwards. This was Lucas finally giving, whoever the go-ahead, like, all right, you have my permission to make this fucking material that takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Flash yourself back to circa 1990, right?
It was 91 when these came out.
Right. So, and probably started writing it in probably 88, 89, I would imagine.
Yeah. Because they came out successively, like 91, 92, 93 for the trilogy.
That in and of itself is fucking remarkable. You think about waiting a goddamn year for a fucking book.
Yeah.
A year. Yeah. Like, you're reading this and you're like, I gotta wait a fucking year. Back in the day, kids, we used to have to wait for things. Not instead of ordering a fucking pair of flip-flops and then having them show up the fucking like less than 24 hours later.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah.
Let's flash back to the late 80s. Star Wars has now gone down to basically just below a simmer. There's really like Jedi had its fucking, huge entrance into Jedi. We're as kids, we talked at length about how Jedi was kind of our really when we as adolescents really developed our Star Wars fucking characters.
Yeah, and our fandom and everything else.
Yeah, because we had all the toys that we played with, and we have we saw the movies. We got to go in costume to fucking go to Return of the Jedi and fucking Luke with the green lightsaber. And
because we are in that very unique generation where we were born in 75, 76. So,
right.
We were too young to remember the first two movies. But by the time Jedi came around, we were that perfect fucking age.
Yeah, it was the sweet spot. It really was.
And really, we are the greatest generation. I'm sorry to say.
I would agree. Yeah, my grandfather's generation. They were
as I say this on Memorial Day.
Yeah, there's out of the current generations. I don't know. Let's
compare us to the rest of Generation X and especially the millennials. The 75, 76ers. We are the greatest.
Yes, we'll go with that.
Yeah,
but 70, like born in 75, now 1990 when this comes out, 16?
Yeah, you'd have been 16.
16.
I wasn't 16 when this came out. In fact, like we can kind of get into it. I didn't read the Heir to the Empire trilogy. I read them all like back to back to back in like 93 after the last book came out because I never read these in hardcover because they came out in hardcover first and they were hardcover for a year before the paperback came out.
My God, hardcover books in the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
Like you didn't I didn't have a job.
Right.
As a fucking.
Yeah. I didn't have a job until I was 17. And that's when I started reading.
A freshman in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I wasn't buying hardcover books. I was finding paperbacks in like the fucking farmers markets and shit like that.
Right.
You know, getting them like, oh hey, or you know, buying with the cover ripped off or some shit like that.
Yeah, which, by the way, kids, you know, all these people are like, we need $15 an hour minimum wage. You know what my minimum wage was when I first started working? $4.25, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So
It's
cry
called
me a river, dickface.
It's called inflation. Read a book.
Well, whatever.
But the idea of a hardcover book, like the initial release of a fucking novel, was absurd to think that at our age group that we were going to get that the first time. Yeah,
you know?
It was
you
like
get it from a library or something.
So when these books did come out and getting the fucking wavelength of like, hey, there's some Star Wars stuff that came out. It wasn't until I'm in the same boat. It wasn't until I actually had a way to get hold of these books, and I think I want to say it had something to do with me working at CVS and fucking pulling one out of the trash. Again, if you find a paperback book that had the cover ripped off, that was basically the retailer they were done with this book and they didn't fucking take it back and go fucking, you know, sell it somewhere else. They ripped the cover off and threw it away.
Yeah. I used to work at Walden Books, aka Borders.
Oh, excuse me.
And that's where I met my wife, Kristen, actually. So, yeah, we used to have to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rip the fucking front cover off, throw it in the fucking dumpster, and that's how you would dispose of books that just aren't ever going to sell or whatnot.
Right. And it's, you know, CVS had a limited amount of books that they did get.
Yeah.
But my first reading of this was with the fucking cover ripped off.
Yeah.
And the idea that the accessibility of this as Star Wars fans, when we were in a period where like I grew up with all the toys and everything else, and the fact that there's a little bit of wavelength out there that said, hey, there's Star Wars shit coming out.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
It was, yeah.
It was. Think of the excitement that everyone had going into fucking Phantom Menace. Not that this had the same level of release, because not everybody was into fucking digesting Star Wars in this way.
And, you know, a lot of people had moved on at that point because there was so much other stuff going on in the fucking 80s, especially when it came to shit that was marketed to kids.
Yeah.
You know, with your fucking Transformers or G.I. Joe, Thundercats, fucking...
So much toys.
Oh, my God.
Can we just take a second to talk about the fucking... how jealous I am of some of these toy collectors? Like, the Pops, this is all modern stuff, right? And your toy collection is fucking massive and it's not properly displayed yet.
Right.
But it's these guys that are getting carded fucking like Masters of the Universe and fucking holy shit.
The He-Man stuff. That was huge.
Brett Stoller, the Tatooine body art guy, like he's got his own fucking Tatooine collector club on Facebook in that group, and the shit that people get is unbelievable.
Right.
Somebody went to some old lady's house and fucking bought a bunch of like Tupperware containers full of toys. Shit, fucking 30 Transformers, fucking like with the boxes, like they weren't in the box, but the box was like collapsed, so it was.
But they still had it. And...
Fuck! Oh, my nipples!
It's one of those things where I wish I kept all that shit. But either way, we can thank Star Wars for all of it because Star Wars was the fucking trailblazer for all of this stuff. It's like, hey, you come up with this fucking franchise the kids love, you fucking merchandise the shit out of it, and you know you just fucking collect your money. And that's what a lot of these
real movies made.
Well, exactly, right? And then, you know, you had these other people like, all right, we're not going to make fucking movies. We're just going to make fucking weekly cartoons with your fucking, you know, your Thundercats, your fucking He-Man, your Transformers, and all that shit. And that's what took over for the rest of the 80s. And that's, you know, for me, that's what dominated me. It was after Star Wars, it was a lot of He-Man and a lot of Transformers. There was some other stuff mixed in there, like some Mask and Thundercats and all that. But, you know, ultimately, everybody started to move on from Star Wars because there was no new content being produced.
And I think there was a big, God, fucking cartoons alone, how much revenue it generated with the toy lines. And unfortunately, Star Wars never picked up on that. Yeah. Like, I went from stiff-legged fucking Star Wars figures to fucking G.I. Joes. You know, that was the big transition for me. Like, I had some... You know, the same shit, like Mask, He-Man was, you know, had a reasonable amount of He-Man, but like G.I. Joes, that was the next thing because it was like the same size as my Star Wars figures.
Right.
So fucking Cobra Commander would fucking be able to fly the Millennium fucking Falcon.
That's right.
You know, and it would all those pieces kind of worked out.
Yeah. So Lucas probably recognized this. Lucas was trying to go on to these other endeavors and they weren't working. Like, remember Howard the Duck? Remember when he did that? And that fucking was a monumental failure, and he had to sell part of ILM, which eventually became fucking Pixar.
Yeah.
So, Lucas had to go through bankruptcy and all this other shit. So I think it was at that point he realized, like, fuck, Star Wars is my bread and butter. I'm not doing anything. So he gives the go-ahead to start making these books. Now, I read Heir to the Empire back in high school, probably sophomore year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was about 17. I actually had a job. I had some income, and these books were starting to come out on paperback.
Oh, excuse me.
Have not read them since. So going back and reading, I say reading, but I listened to the audiobook this time,
right.
The 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Which is 9 years old now, by the way.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's a whole other thing to get into.
Mark Thompson got way better later on.
And I have some notes about that too, like especially with his Thrawn voice. But yeah, man, going back and re-listening to this now, this was the first time I've gone back since, 1993 when I first read these fucking books. And I had forgotten so much. Now, there were a couple of things that still like really stuck out to me in these books. Like Luke and Mara being stuck in the fucking forest together, right? Her basically holding him at gunpoint the whole fucking time. Yeah.
You forget early on that Mara Jade is her fucking hatred. Like she wanted Luke Skywalker's fucking balls on a platter.
Yeah.
And
you look at the fucking arc that her character had through the expanded universe. And that's the big thing that I want to focus on in this episode is not the beat to beat what happens in this story, because in the end, a lot of it's kind of irrelevant. It's the foundation that it laid for the rest of the Legends material.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I forgot. I was going to get like a whiteboard so that we could remember. My son had said, hey, we should like start making a timeline for what we cover. Because if we were going to do a zoom of this, right, and then we're going to share our screens.
Yeah.
This is the fucking Big Bang.
Yeah.
Right. This is the Big Bang for the expanded universe.
Right.
And we kind of talked pre-show about the lighting the rockets that go off. Like not every one of them is relevant. There's a lot of irrelevancy in these books, but in this three book series, but these characters that other authors decided, like, you know what, I'm going to pick up on that and we're going to take that. The Luke and Mara Jade is probably one of the biggest ones. The twins. Those things are so huge that as somebody who's read dozens upon dozens of fucking expanded universe novels to be looking at the epicenter of this, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. It's so you kind of look at some of the hold on. First of all, let's back up.
Yeah. What? Who?
The audiobook. So you and I both listened to the audiobook. This was the 3PO, the 20th anniversary, which for some reason, when I saw this in my Audible feed, I'm like, 20th anniversary. This probably came out a few years ago, I start listening to it, right? And if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you've heard me just fucking blow my load all over Mark Thompson.
Yep.
And the job that he does specifically on the Thrawn books.
Mm-hmm.
We started with the original Thrawn novel. The Thrawn novel from 2016, 2015?
I don't remember.
Whatever.
We'll go with it.
The first Thrawn novel and then the two subsequent books after that. Fucking blew my load all over fucking Mark Thompson and the way he portrayed Thrawn.
I like how you said it again.
Yes. So I listened to those. I sung his fucking praises. I go back and I listen to this book. I'm like, why does Thrawn just sound like another fucking British Imperial guy? Why is he not the cool?
Why is he not Thrawn?
Right, exactly. It's even in the Thrawn books, he's like, yeah. So as you see, the arcs of sun coming from this artwork demonstrate that they had a fear of this, and a very just low-key way of delivering Thrawn, whereas in this he's kind of like a hard fucking British accent. You almost couldn't distinguish him from the other like Imperial officers.
Yeah, aside from the cadence, you couldn't tell Paleon from Thrawn.
Right,
sometimes.
right. Except the confidence that Thrawn had, the genius that he had, that still transcends over.
Right.
But, so
that's an interesting point when you're talking about Heir to the Empire. When we started talking about the Thrawn books as this new Thrawn trilogy, the canonical Thrawn trilogy, we could call it.
Yeah.
It was hey, take the Heir to the Empire Thrawn and just insert him into the fucking canon.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like I heard Thrawn through the voice of the more modern Mark Thompson, right?
Right.
Up until we heard him in Rebels.
Well, and see, that's the thing, because I read an interview with Mark Thompson. After I listened to that first Thrawn book, I read an interview with Thompson, and he's like, yeah, I tried to mimic what they did with the voice in Rebels as much as possible, and it makes sense. You listen to the Thrawn in Rebels, and you listen to the Thrawn in those audiobooks, and it's very similar sounding voice. Then you go back and you listen to this, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why did he change Thrawn's voice so much? Did he change it because, this is Legends material? It's like a different universe? And then I look at the date. Right. Then I'm like, wait a minute. 20th anniversary came out in 91, 2011. Fuck. So
Mark Thompson got better at this. It's really it's the moral of that story.
Well, and the fucking even crazier thing is we are 1 year removed from the 30th anniversary of this fucking book.
That's fucking scary.
In 2021, next fucking year is the 30th anniversary of Heir to the Empire.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be fucking surprised if they don't do another fucking audiobook version of this where Mark Thompson he's the slower, more methodic talking Thrawn.
Maybe.
Who thinks more ponderly about things like this.
I will say, listening to it with the most recent version, right?
Yeah.
He does do a reasonable solo. Excuse me, that gnat is still fighting me.
Yeah.
He does a reasonable solo.
Yep.
Even Leia is pretty decent.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Mark Thompson is very, very
he's very talented voice actor. And it had some of those elements of the Star Wars books that we've been listening to. Like I haven't been all over fucking Mark Thompson's dick like you have. Right. I'm not really into sloppy seconds, so I'll go ahead and let you fucking take care of that.
Right.
But I do appreciate some of the Star Wars. Like it's you're listening to Star Wars, basically. You're listening to somebody tell you a Star Wars story. It has all the little elements until they fucking fuck up. And it's like, that's not what that would sound like. Right. Like they got some background noise for fucking the
So and if we're gonna nitpick, if we're talking about the Mark Thompson stuff, so first of all, there's Lando. Who the Lando voice that he does in this is very similar to the Mace Windu he did that I was criticizing when we were doing the last audiobook, where it's like, oh, I do declare. Oh, you should certainly be.
I still haven't listened to that.
Yeah, but the Lando voice he does in this is he doesn't do a good black man voice. He's not channeling his inner black man, and I think he needs to work a little bit harder on that. I think he's being a little bit too stereotypical.
How would you channel your inner black man?
I'm not an actor, so I don't know. So, though I totally would be. Oh my God. If I could be a voice actor after I retire, that would be awesome.
You need to work on your voice.
I do, yeah. But anyway, so, and then there's the fucking Wookiee chapter. And I think it was Bronco Fett last week who warned us during the show. He's like, oh, you're doing the Heir to the Empire audiobook? You're gonna hate the Wookiee chapter. I'm like, oh, how bad can it really be? It was bad. When Leia gets to Kashyyyk and it's an entire chapter of her conversing with a Wookiee. Oh my God. It's the absolute worst. And I understand where he was going with it, but it's still terrible to listen to. Besides that, still overall a fantastic job done by my man Mark Thompson. But yeah, the Thrawn voice, very different from what we're used to in the current Disney canon, but he still has that same intelligence. And oh my God, just how fucking brilliant this character was written. I can't describe enough. There are just certain parts where there was a one point where Leia, Han, Lando, 3PO, Chewie they're all like, fuck, these Noghri are trying to capture Leia.
Mhm.
We need to protect her. We're going to do all this little fucking kerfuffle in these 3 ships. We're going to like switch some people around.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
going to make 3PO have Leia's fucking voice.
Yeah, Lando comes up with the fucking like cockamamie scheme.
And then we're going to spread out everywhere. They're never going to know where she really is. Thrawn immediately figures it out.
Yep.
In addition to that, he fucking like explains exactly how he knows, and it just shows like how great this character is. And
to develop this character out of thin fucking air too. Yeah. That's the biggest part of it.
Because there was no precedent for him.
Yeah, Thrawn was never. There was no such thing as a fucking blue skin, red eyed fucking alien. That's what I was digging. I didn't know if I had Heir to the Empire in the pile of shit.
I have him in the Sacred Jedi text. I have the hardcovers in there, so
it's in there somewhere. They make this character out of thin air. Make him so fucking hyper intelligent. It does. I guess the only thing that let me say that it does take a little bit of that. All right, artistic element, I guess. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but there's you made this dude out of thin air. Cool. How the fuck was he never mentioned ever? A Grand Admiral. You know, there is some aspect to that. Now, but right away in the book, they're like, oh yeah, he's fucking in the Outer Rim doing shit.
Yeah.
Like, so he's out there doing shit, and that's okay. That's where you have to start.
Compare it again. This is where you start comparing Legends to canon. Compare it to canon, and they've got all kinds of shit going. They've got fucking Jedi still running around. Yeah. You know, post Revenge of the Sith. That's all kind of explained away that are never referenced in the original trilogy or even the prequels for that matter.
This is true, but if you've never read this and you start suddenly be like, how did we get to Thrawn? Now, we lived in a world where Thrawn came out of midair, out of nothing. Yeah. Whereas if you're picking it up now and you're into Rebels and the Thrawn character, you already know who Thrawn is, and it's the same. Like, good on Timothy Zahn for writing Thrawn, as it's the same dude. There's no change to what Thrawn is.
Right. His background's a little bit different. The way he came into the Empire is a little bit different in Disney canon, but it's still the same character.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And that just goes to show how well Timothy Zahn wrote him the first time around, and how much he connected with the Star Wars fans. The Star Wars fans who were interested in consuming this post-Jedi material, be it, novels, comic books, whatever. The people that consume this stuff, Thrawn really struck a nerve with them. And even though, spoiler alert, he doesn't survive to the end of this trilogy,
right?
He still, 20 years after that, before the Disney buyout, he was still strong in everybody's minds as one of the best characters ever created in this expanded universe.
Yeah, the people that are all on the subreddit for the expanded universe, right? They will echo these same sentiments. But let's not just talk about Thrawn, because Thrawn is definitely one of those that like transcends everything in the expanded universe.
Right.
Even though for what little footprint he had in the expanded universe, everyone that has gone to the beginning and started there in the expanded universe, Thrawn is the big takeaway.
Yep.
But we can't take anything away from the fact that Han and fucking Leia get it on.
Yeah.
They have fucking twins.
Right. And in this first one, in Heir to the Empire, she's pregnant with
the fucking twins. She's working on her fucking Jedi abilities.
Yep.
So straight away, after fucking Return of the Jedi, Leia and Luke, like, Luke is still kind of feeling his way. He's doing his thing, but Luke's trying to train Leia to use her Force abilities. He gets a fucking lightsaber.
Yep. And
right in this first book, Leia is using the Force, and she's a fucking Jedi, and she's getting ready to produce two of the fucking strongest Jedi ever,
whose stories are going to be huge as you get into this expanded universe, to the point where like everything is focused around these fucking twins. Jaina and Jason.
Yeah. When we get to that point in our Summer of Legends, when we get to the point of those books, like where we're seeing the completion of Jason Solo and how Jason and Jaina, like that whole thing, that was I am old enough to be able to purchase hardcover books, and I was spending hardcover book money to fucking get these books when it came out. And I had to wait half a year to a year to get it.
Yeah.
Foaming at the fucking mouth for this fucking material because it was so compelling. And it starts right here in the fucking womb in Heir to Empire. And that goes, woof, that fucking rocket takes off for fucking Pluto.
Yeah. And again, this was all Timothy Zahn. I mean, he wasn't given full carte blanche. I know Lucasfilm came back to him and they said, these are some elements that we want included in this story. I don't know if they ever really came out with the details as to what those were, but all of that started here. The fucking twins, Luke's continued journey, Leia's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple other characters before we kind of get into the big existential discussion here. Captain Paleon, who's Thrawn's little fucking bitch boy.
Yeah.
He plays a prominent role through a good portion of the expanded universe. We see him in the Jedi Academy trilogy. We see him in the New Jedi Order a bit. Like at one point, I think he is in charge of the Empire, of the Imperial Remnant, as they call it.
The Remnant, yeah.
Yeah, so a big character down the line. Mara Jade, obviously, massive arc. This is her first fucking story in this.
Yep.
We get fucking Talon Card, who, more of a bit player, but we see him continuously throughout the course of the expanded universe. The Nogri, or Nogri, or however the fuck you want to pronounce it, they're pretty prominent throughout because that was all planted in this book, especially as you get towards the end. Because at first they were Thrawn's assassins, his personal assassins, to capture Luke and Leia, because the whole subplot, he wanted to capture them. We haven't even talked about Joruus C'baoth.
Yeah. Oh my fucking god.
His whole arc, but
Grand Admiral Thrawn,
which his character was kind of a joke from the start, and I think that was the intent of the way that he was introduced, was the fact that he's pretending to be this big almighty character, whereas in reality he's a fucking clone of a Jedi.
Exactly. That, and credit to Timothy Zahn for the cloning of a Jedi. That this has prominence later on as well.
Yeah, because
right here in the beginning, like, cloning's not really a thing in Star Wars until we get to this point.
Yeah.
And
because remember, at this point, the prequels were not things.
Nope.
We had not seen the prequels. Nope. We didn't know what actually happened in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, there were loose explanations of like what stormtroopers were, but we didn't get nearly the clarity that we're going to get starting right now.
Yeah. And
the fact that Thrawn knows, like, all right, I'm gonna go fucking get the Epsilari and fucking have that. I picture it in my mind, right? Just these fucking snakes everywhere, like like the Yoda back in the day with the fucking orange snake around him in the figure.
Yeah.
That's why I just pictured the Epsilari like everywhere in the fucking room when they got the fucking Grand Admiral Thrawn. Like,
well, and I think it's a really neat story element, the Isalamari, or however the fuck you pronounce it.
What was I saying? Epsilari?
I don't think I'm saying it right either. But either way, it's a really interesting story point. Their introduction and the fact that they block the Force. In fact, they push back the Force. It's kind of neat, because you get to a point where the Jedi have to be challenged in some way, right? Luke has to be grounded at some point, or if he's just like some fucking omniscient Jedi who's just fucking beating the shit out of everything.
Well, spoiler alert, when he becomes a fucking dark Jedi at one point in this fucking story.
Right. Well, yeah, that's
not in this book. Again, spoilers.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
for books that were written fucking 20 years ago.
when we talk about next week. But no, so we get introduced to Joruus C'baoth, the Nogri, who play a prominent role. Coruscant was introduced for the first time in this book.
Right.
And I think it was Timothy Zahn's idea that George Lucas ended up running with and incorporating it into the prequels, the whole, planet-sized city.
Planet-sized, yeah, and that it was the Imperial's fucking, this is the Imperial Palace. Yeah. When we first see and we're introduced to Luke and Leia in this book, and you have Luke's basically fucking, he wakes up in a cold fucking sweat, and he's standing there, and they're in the fucking Imperial Palace that they would have been in. And the idea of this palace that the Emperor basically lived in, it's so feasible, even to the current canon now.
Well, yeah, and then you look at it after the prequels are made, you're like, okay, that makes sense, because this is where the government was before Palpatine had his little power trip, and now we're just bringing things home.
Yeah. What if you're gonna go occupy a place, right? If you're gonna go, hey, I'm gonna take over this fucking galaxy, and it already has a capital planet, you're not gonna go establish it. Like, you don't go invade fucking Tokyo, like, and be part of the army occupation and establish a new capital somewhere. Right. No, you go to fucking Tokyo.
But again, that's the difference with the Disney canon, because in the Disney canon, they decided, no, we don't want to make Coruscant our home base. We're going to do Hosnian Prime. I think this all came out in the Bloodline book. I think is where most of that came out. We're like, nah, we're going to do Hosnian Prime instead. It's either going to be Chandrila, which is fucking what's her face's Mon Mothma's home planet, right, or Hosnian Prime. They ended up going with Hosnian Prime. How'd that work out for you? So
hey, you know what?
Watch out for the sun. I hear it's pretty hot.
I think Hosnian, if play devil's advocate on that, Hosnian Prime was very easy to get rid of.
Yeah.
Right away. Like, yeah, this is the new capital. Pew, pew, yeah. And it's over.
Right. So the name Palpatine, they referred to the Emperor as Emperor Palpatine. We didn't know that was his fucking name. Watching the entire original trilogy, because I remember reading these fucking books in high school in 1993 and being like, Emperor Palpatine, what is that? What are they talking about?
That's so funny. I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Because in the original trilogy, he was the Emperor. That was it. There was no Palpatine. We didn't know his name. We didn't even get his first name, Sheev, until the fucking Disney.
Oh, yeah, canon, exactly.
So, but yeah, man, it was reading the books, like this trilogy and the Jedi Academy trilogy. Every time it would refer to Emperor Palpatine, I'd be like, God, that just looks weird. But then the prequels came, and it made a lot more sense, and it flowed a lot better. Which, by the way, he made the prequels work with the Legends material. Like, it all kind of like worked together. There was no contradictions, really.
Yeah, there wasn't. Because it's a timeline that it's the prequels. Yeah. So anything that's affecting what starts at the episode when Heir to the Empire, it doesn't really, unless you kill somebody off, which they didn't.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't start killing off characters until about the New Jedi Order.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, oh, you're a prominent character? Yeah, you're dead. You're dead. You're dead.
I'm gonna drop a planet on fucking Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. It's a Summer of Legends, bitches.
I know, right? So, but yeah, like all of this stuff, and I didn't realize it until going back and listening to it this time, that all of these seeds were planted in this first fucking book, in Heir to the Empire. All of this that would dictate where we go for the next 20 years in this expanded universe.
And I know we talked about it. We're kind of all over the place with this, but in the spirit of looking at Heir to the Empire as our beginning point, we talked about it a little bit when we started doing the research and reading. The excitement about where these characters go.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make me forget what the canon is, because I enjoy the new canon.
Right.
I truly do. Like, at the end of the day, Last Jedi notwithstanding, parts of Last Jedi notwithstanding, in reality, I'm okay with where we are in the canon.
Yes.
This is so much better. It's better from the seed that's planted with this, that everything grows off of. This is just, maybe I'm saying that because I was so invested in it, and I managed to fucking take that investment and make it in a tiny little ball and put it in the back of my fucking dome.
Well, you're not the only one, though, because there are so many Star Wars fans out there that feel the exact same way. They got so invested in this Legends material, and they felt so burned by Lucasfilm. But honestly, you can't blame Disney and Lucasfilm for what they did by shit-canning basically all of the expanded universe, because this brings forth a good debate, right? This was one of my last bullet points, the whole Legends versus canon. What do you want as a Star Wars fan? what most Star Wars fans probably want is what we got here in Heir to the Empire. The continued adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia.
Right.
You know, it's just more of them going out and saving the fucking galaxy.
Right.
Where, let's face it, in 2015, 2016, trying to bring back Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford to be the showrunners of this new trilogy and have it be, again, about Han, Luke, and Leia and their continued adventures, you're going to be disappointed.
And we get with a book and with the novelization and all these books, you're not slave to the actor. Right. And the portrayal of that actor, like, we don't have the face transplant we did with fucking Rogue One when putting Tarkin's and Leia's face in there.
Yeah,
we don't have that. And it'd be really, really tough to do an entire movie like that.
Sure.
And I 100% agree with you. If you had gone straight away after Jedi and said, okay, we're going to wait this many years and continue on, because you're talking about characters, like, it's easy for us to make this continuation because they're not that old.
Right.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, they're in their 20s and they're starting families. Like, Solo is older, right? And obviously, like, you're not even talking about like the non-human, but you're talking about people in their 20s that, yeah, I could read all the way to this point where Luke Skywalker is not even 60 years old yet. Yeah. You all that space of time, you have so many fucking stories. And but like you said, we kicked off The Force Awakens at a point where you've gone too far. Like, you've gone too far past that fucking sweet spot. So now you would have to do what they did.
Right. You have to have a new generation come up.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, they could have conceivably kept all of the Legends material intact
and recast.
Right. Well, no, I'm not even saying recast. I'm just saying, like, pick up at the end of the Fate of the Jedi or whatever, and then create a new story. But then you're going to have a massive amount of Star Wars fans. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? When Jaina Solo is like the only standing, remaining Jedi of this new era.
Yeah. How do you not have the entirety of the Yuuzhan Vong War? How do you not have all the stuff with Abeloth? Where's Ship? Where's all these things?
Right.
But you have Clone Wars, you have Rebels. They could have done it. Like, they've proven, like, as we sit here today,
yeah,
Disney has proven, or I guess Clone Wars was pre-Disney, but they've proven that they can encapsulate a certain period of time through animation and do it successfully.
Yeah.
They finished Clone Wars right. I saw a meme the other day that had, it was like Clone Wars. It was in 2 panels, right? The first panels was like a very like cartoony, like, Clone Wars season 1 through 3. It was like, oh, boop, 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 right? Just real fucking corny, right? And then fucking season 4 through 7 was like, I must murder everyone, and like the super, super aggressive. And it did. It was like a fucking switch got flipped. I'm like, okay, we're no longer. Yeah, we drew an audience into this, and now this audience is aging along with these seasons. Now we can turn it up a bit.
Yeah.
To get to, because ultimately the end of this is executing Order 66. That's not a fucking kids show. At that point, which we got, they could have done this.
Yeah.
It's not like the animation style that they decided to use to make Clone Wars was super fucking complicated. It's not this like uber CGI fucking thing where you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. It was a fucking storyboarded animated show. So if they did pick a point down the timeline after the Disney buyout, say, okay, we're going to start here. Okay. And we're going to start moving forward. And everyone's going to go like, oh, what about this? I'm like, but wait, there's more. And then you could do the fucking animated series and pick up all that shit. That would have been that would have been the way.
I don't know. I still think it would have been just like so much had happened, and you would have had to just completely not acknowledge what had happened before at all, and just let the people catch up, or just be like, fucking, we're not going to tie our hands to all of this stuff that's come before. We're just going to start fresh. Wipe the slate clean.
And we get to live in a world where that's what happened. But
right.
I will say that for the sake of that argument, you can. It was a yes, they hit the easy button. Okay, they hit the easy button and can continue the Skywalker saga because there were elements of the expanded universe. But we're also talking as Star Wars fans who read these books.
Right.
Most people, even most Star Wars fans, did not read these books.
Right.
These were books for people that were reading science fiction type novels. That this is what they read for entertainment.
Right.
And it just so happens that it was fucking amazing Star Wars content.
Mm-hmm.
So those people, just like today, where we're fucking reading Aftermath, we're reading piles of books, right? We're getting all this extra canon.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that. The stuff that we know about what happens in between these movies, nobody knows because they didn't read the fucking book. So right. you could extrapolate that to doing the same thing. Like here we are at this point in the fucking timeline where Chewbacca's dead. Yeah. You know, here's the fucking Solos. You know, here's the twins. You know, wherever you decide to. Here's fucking Mark Hamill as a fucking older Luke Skywalker.
But see, here's the thing. Like, they could not make the movies out of the stuff that was already written. Like, if they wanted to do the whole Jason Solo going to the dark side and all that, they couldn't do it because it was already written. There's no element of surprise at this point. Mm-hmm. So that's they would have had to have picked up after that storyline. Whatever they did, because
where's the element of surprise in the Phantom Menace?
Well, there is none because it's a prequel. Whereas Force Awakens and the sequel trilogy, that's all post. That's all afterwards. So a prequel, you know how it's going to fucking end because it takes place before it, which is why I'm fucking sick of prequels and backstories. I don't want to see any more of them. Period. Which is why I'm not as excited as some people about the Obi-Wan story or any other fucking.
Oh yeah, no, fuck all that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go as far as the High Republic era because it's a completely different era.
Exactly, and that's completely separated to where, like, no matter what happens to any of these characters, you're never going to know knowing what happens in the current.
I love Ewan McGregor. I loved all those things, but it's done. It's fucking done. You put the fucking nail in the coffin when you finish the Clone Wars. Honestly, it wasn't even Rise of Skywalker. It was, here's the Clone Wars. Boonk. We're done telling that story.
Yeah.
We're moving on to what these things are. Stop. You know, the Mandalorian is still set in that timeline, but the Mandalorian is a completely
different characters, different part of the galaxy. You don't know based on the events of the sequel trilogy what's going to happen to Mando, Baby Yoda, or any of that. We have no fucking clue.
As we sit here right now, we can say that. I don't know that we'll be able to say that in October, but as we sit here right now,
right. But see, and that's the thing. When season 2 comes out in October, it's going to be all brand new. We don't know what the fuck is going to happen. And if they're going to do this, if they're going to make shit take place during, during established timelines, it has to be in a separate section of the galaxy where we don't know what the eventual outcome is going to be. Because why am I even watching this if that's the case?
Because it's good. I mean, the Mandalorian, I think, is that exception. Like, we're still. Hey, kids, we're talking about Summer Legends, and it's turning a whole conversation about all this thing.
I mean, it's good because it's a comparison between the two.
True.
So we're contrasting and comparing.
I think the Mandalorian still what this series is doing is telling us a little bit about the Mandalorians and their culture, and it's building on stuff that we got in Rebels and Clone Wars. But guess what? I will take the Pepsi fucking challenge against what the Mandalorians were in the expanded universe compared to what they fucking ended up being here.
We could do multiple episodes just on the Mandalorians in Legends.
Yeah.
Versus canon. So kind of continuing with the Heir to the Empire and the trilogy as a whole, right? So we're introduced to all these characters. Thrawn, who is basically leading the Empire, goes to find Jorah Sabayoth as his... And they introduced the concept of battle meditation.
Yes.
With him, right?
Yes.
Talking about how that's
is big later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But they talk about how the Emperor did that.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And they don't want this Sabayoth to be their new Emperor. They just want him to, use his fucking battle meditation, help the fleet out.
Oh, and talking about a point in the book that was actually one of those milestone moments that is just what you're explaining. Mm-hmm. It's hey, Helion, like, you think that you were that good? You think that those things that you were doing and all your coordinated efforts, you really think that your strategies was that good? Or why was it when the Emperor died, suddenly you couldn't fucking fight your way out of wet paper bag?
Right.
Why is that? And forcing Paleon to fucking have to come to terms with that. And by the way, Thrawn's like, hey, chart a course to this fucking planet because we're gonna go pick up a dude that's going to help us get that level of coordination back.
Yeah.
And with the Chimera, does the Chimera survive this series?
The ship
Chimera,
survives.
the ship does, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously Thrawn doesn't because, spoiler, we're not going to talk about the other two books in this, like, individually in separate episodes, so we can kind of skim through what happens in the rest of this trilogy, so if you don't want to know, spoiler alert, turn off. The next book, Dark Force Rising, Thrawn stumbles upon a fleet of, I think it was like 100 fucking dreadnought class starships, which very similar to what they do in Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a callback to that. But yeah, he comes across this like mystery fleet, this hidden fleet that the Emperor had. And Luke finds Joruus Sabaoth. And Joruus kind of starts manipulating Luke quite a bit, kind of like making him do some like dark sidey shit as he's doing his training. Because Luke at this point, he's fucking lost.
Yeah.
He's like, I have to teach Leia. I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Like, there was no handbook on how to fucking be a Jedi Master.
Ben Kenobi's gone, hence, alluding to what happened in the first book when he wakes up in a cold sweat.
Yep.
Ben Kenobi's gone. Nobody else is talking to him through the Force. Now he's on his fucking own.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's another Jedi out there powerful enough to fucking talk to him through his meditation, of course he's going to be drawn to that.
Right. So yeah, he goes into that. He realizes eventually that like, this is fucked up with the help of Mara. Which, I mean, for me, the biggest part of this whole trilogy was the very end when he goes to confront Sabaoth again, him and Mara. And Sabaoth, well, I think it was in book 2. Again, I read this like almost 30 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it was in book 2. There's this one like blow off line where Sabaoth goes to like one of his fucking underlings. He's like, hey, that sample, 1138, take that and make a clone out of that and bring him to me. And, you never hear about it again. You're like, what the fuck was that about?
Right.
Then at the end of the third book, where Luke goes to confront him and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, remember when you got your fucking hand chopped off at Cloud City and you lost your hand in your lightsaber? Well, we found that hand. We took a fucking DNA sample and we got that lightsaber, and here's clone Luke. Right? So basically, he made a clone of Luke based off of his DNA from his fucking hand, and he had the fucking baby killer. And it was this fucking sweet confrontation between Luke, clone Luke, Sabaoth, and Mara Jade.
Yep.
And the whole trilogy, Mara Jade's anger and hatred towards Luke is just being built up. She was raised by Palpatine that, like, you will kill Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
Right? Like, you're my hand. Your main mission now is to kill fucking Luke Skywalker. She kind of comes to terms with Luke, and like they become they're
okay with each other.
With each other at this point, yeah.
Like they're not killing each other,
right? And then the fucking clone comes out, and Luke gets incapacitated, and he's dealing with Sabaoth, and then it's Mara against the fucking clone, and she's like, she keeps hearing Palpatine over and over in her head, you will kill Luke Skywalker. And she's the one that kills the fucking clone.
Yeah.
And it was just this whole fucking ending to this trilogy.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful.
It's one of those when I remember reading this, it's a sequence that feels like it is so short, but it's like half the book.
Yeah.
It's like crazy how long like that book, and you're reading it going like, oh my God, this is fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to that point. And everything, what I liked about this trilogy, what I liked about what Heir to the Empire started and what moves forward, because I jumped from Heir to the Empire to the Vong series.
Okay, so
I didn't do the Jedi Academy, so that's going to be a whole nother thing. Like when we do Jedi Academy, I'm probably going to have to take it out of the Sacred Jedi text.
The Sacred Text, yeah, because I don't think there is an audiobook for those.
And I'll fucking intake it that way so that we can have a legit conversation about that. And to make that jump and for it to be, it wasn't a bridge too far. It was like, this is fucking great. This series of books, this trilogy had this natural conclusion, this ultimate climax that it just felt good and it felt right. I wasn't back in the day. I didn't give a shit that Thrawn didn't make it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah,
I didn't really fucking care because to me it was a character that okay, he showed up, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't have huge fucking hard nipples for Thrawn like a lot of the EU people did.
Yeah. Well,
I had a huge my hard on was for this book series and what I ended up reading for what Luke Skywalker did and how he learned the Force and all the things that he was able to do and in using the Force and how those other characters and like all that thing starts to build in huge and get bigger. That was for me, it was like the Grand Master.
Yeah.
Like Luke Skywalker, Grand Master was the holy fuck for me.
Yeah.
For this series. The other characters were important. And obviously, like Luke's fucking Spawn and Ben.
Yeah. Ben
Skywalker. And that whole thing, but the trials and tribulations of fucking Grandmaster Skywalker to me was it. That was the erection inducing thing that kept me fucking reading these books because it was so compelling to hear again the trials and tribulations. It wasn't this fucking smooth thing like I know all the Force. No, there was always bad people. There's always a bad guy out there.
Which it's such a shame that you missed the Jedi Academy trilogy because, quite frankly, for me, that is the pinnacle of the expanded universe. I think the Vong invasion is still pretty fucking high, but that Jedi Academy trilogy,
but you didn't read the Fate of the Jedi stuff.
I didn't. I mean, I heard what happened,
right?
Obviously, but
there's a difference between. I think I get it, like because there's a lot of buildup in the Jedi Academy that I had to extrapolate from reading stuff in later books.
Yeah.
And which was fine, but I got to a point where I started so late that if I tried to start at the Jedi Academy and work to where I was, it just wouldn't have been worth it. So it was like, okay, here's where I am. This is what I can afford to buy.
Right, and it's a time investment too. It's not just like the amount of money for the books; it's how much time you spend reading them.
See, this is where we talked about it before. When I'm in a book like that book's done in 2 days.
Yeah.
48 hours, that book's done. And now I'm sitting there waiting for the next one.
Well,
and that's how that series was.
Well, and we'll talk about that too if we ever get to the Corellian trilogy, because that's the way that was for me. But to kind of put a bow on the Heir to the Empire trilogy, it was fucking great from start to finish. It was what, as Star Wars fans, we wanted, we needed at that point.
Yeah.
Was, like I said, the continuing adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia.
We didn't know we needed it until we fucking read it.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy fuck, this is some good shit.
Yep. And it was the springboard for everything that we got after that.
And the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
We are so lucky. We are so lucky. We sat in a sweet spot for almost all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's people like Jon Favreau is a perfect example. Right? He was old enough to fucking be sitting in a theater in 1977 and remembering it. Right. So his Star Wars experience, his starting point, gives him a different viewpoint on it, I think, than ours.
Even though he's just a handful of years older than us.
Yeah.
It's so different, such a stark difference.
Yeah, and to think that where we were in 1983 in our adolescence to get to this point where like Star Wars suddenly comes back into your life after like playing with the toys and then growing out of the toys and doing everything else. And all of a sudden, like, oh, look, Star Wars. Huh. And then you read it like, wow, this is pretty fucking good. Yeah. Where's more? Like, get more input. Fucking Johnny Five.
And at that point, it was constant. From the end of the Heir to the Empire, I don't think we went a year without getting a new Star Wars book with the new canon. Like maybe 2 years here and there, but I'm pretty sure we were getting a new book. Yeah, we were getting a new book. That's it. Pretty much every year until the Disney buyout. So yeah, this is what started it all.
I can't wait to get to that point.
Yeah, and I think next week, we should look at the Dark Empire comics because that's the next big storyline.
Okay.
In the timeline. I think it's also important because, quite frankly, I have a very poor memory of the Dark Empire series.
Okay.
We can talk about it next week.
Yes.
But
save it for next week.
For the most part, it's got a lot of negative connotations in my head.
Right.
I would like to revisit it and see if that negativity is still there after looking back at it after all these years.
Yeah. And look, as we transverse into Summer of Legends, it's one of those things where straying into the non-canon, the comics had a huge, that was zero visibility almost on my part.
Well, it was for me too. When they reference shit that happened in Dark Empire in the Jedi Academy trilogy, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
They're like, oh yeah, no, it was in a comic. I'm like, fuck, that's a whole nother element of fucking that you're trying to read. Oh, it was fucking crazy. But we can definitely, I agree. Yes. That's a good it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
For next week.
We'll look at that. I think it was a 6 comic book series.
Okay.
So
it's funny. I was trying to do the math. Right. So we're in it's the Summer of Legends, right? So 101, like it's 101 days of summer starts like
101 days of summer vacation. School comes along just to end it.
I was thinking more of
a good way to spend it.
This is where
like maybe
I know
Phineas and Ferb. Okay, so your kids were probably too old for Phineas and Ferb, but my kids were the perfect age for that show.
Yeah,
fucking phenomenal show.
Yeah, very well written. I've seen enough of it. I don't remember the fucking. Anyway, there's 101 days of summer. Divide that by 7, right? So we've got what's that give us? Like,
you're expecting me to do math on the fly like this? It's not happening.
There's like I think
especially after I've taken like 4 shots of Jaeger
and a bunch of Tekamaka. Hang on, I did this math earlier, but I fucking forgot because I'm an old man. All right, 101 divided by 7.
I'm sure 101's a prime number, so you're
14.4. So we got about 14 episodes, I guess, of the Summer of Legends.
That's actually not bad because, well, see, here's the thing though, because Legends also incorporates the Old Republic shit.
Yeah.
So we need to dedicate at least a couple of episodes to that because, especially Revan. If nothing else, we have to talk about the arc of Revan.
Because we've done Bane. Yeah. We've done Bane for the show.
Yeah, but Bane was 1,000 years after Revan.
Right.
So, like the whole arc of Revan going through the Knights of the Old Republic game into the Revan novel.
Sure.
What happened after that? Like,
I'm just trying to piece out like where we're going to get to, like for Fate of the Jedi series, and start working our way back from there.
Yeah.
I'd like to follow this arc, and maybe at the end we can do the Revan arc.
2 steps forward, 2 steps back. We come
together.
Yes, he knows what I'm talking about. Oh God, we're really showing our age.
Yeah, no shit. God, Summer of Legends is summer of fucking old people.
Yep. But hey, I would like to think that most of our audience is right there with us.
Exactly, except for the 14-year-old kid that wanted to be on the fucking 150th episode. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Not yet. Or was it 14 or 11?
No, 14.
14. Yeah, I was gonna say if you're 11 and you're listening to this show, your parents are fucking way cooler than my parents,
or just terrible parents in general.
I wasn't gonna say that.
Yeah,
I'm not here. Who am I to pass judgment?
All right, so more than likely next week we'll do Dark Empire. I know it's on Marvel Unlimited. I don't know if you have the means to access that, but I'm pretty sure I've got all the comics, so I might have to just fucking dig into the books.
There you go.
Yeah.
I will be ready. I'll be ready for next week.
All right, fair enough. So until then, hope you all enjoyed the first just toe dip into the Summer of Legends. Right. I know we were kind of all over the place.
This first starburst, the Big Bang of the expanded universe. It's chaotic. It's the Big Bang.
Right.
Like now everything's going to expand from this.
Yes. So we'll be a little more structured from here on out, I'm sure.
I highly doubt it.
Probably not. But that's par for the course for us.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, until then, everybody, thank you for watching on YouTube. If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do, because you get all kinds of exclusive content on there that you don't get in the audio podcast. And yeah, let us know if you do or do not see us on things like Spotify, iHeartRadio, things like that. We're trying to get all of that shit tightened up to make sure that we are available anywhere you can get your podcasts.
Right.
So let us know.
But when in doubt, you could always go to podbelly.com and find us there.
Right. And
thanks to the Patreon supporters.
And thanks to the Patreon supporters.
And watch the Escape Pod and do all of and use the abused.
Yeah.
Whatever. Come on, just do it.
And until next time, Dave and everybody else, may the force be with you.
May the force be with you. Ooh, that was nice. Okay, now what do I click?
That had a bit of a southern accent to it. Okay, now what do I click?
It's a little. You know what I was working on? I gotta pee. Hang on.
Oh, that's why you were trying to hurry this up.
Yeah. I was just gonna get up.
Another reason why the current episode or 150 is being delayed is because now I have to move all of my audio editing software from my old desktop to my new desktop. So that's a process in and of itself. And I'm distracted by my shiny new toy. Doom Eternal. Oh, so good. So good. Scott, didn't even see you come in. Using your views is on iHeartRadio, and so is it. Are you on Spotify, Scott? Because apparently that's the big destination now, right? Joe Rogan signed the big $100 million contract for Spotify exclusivity. So that's where it's at. So find out if you're on there. And by the way, what hosting service do you use, Scott? Because
Anchor FM, right?
Because we might be changing hosts. Because if we can't get onto Spotify using Libsyn, then we're moving on. And I'm moving on. And
So we need.
on. Sometimes I feel. So we need to find the Dark Empire comics. Those are your boxes.
Yes.
Where the fuck are my... Oh, my comics are here. Okay, this might be easier. We're still live, by the way. We're just over here going through the sacred Jedi text.
All of the text. Here, I'm gonna swing my camera over.
All right.
See what we're doing. This is... I don't know if Lunar Girl's still in, but I know she's always been curious about the text.
Yeah, we gotta get into the Tales of the Jedi series, too. Fuck. That was the first comic series I ever read. And it was so good. Dark Lords of the Dark Empire. Oh, wait. Dark Empire 2. That's right. They made a fucking sequel. Oh, fuck. Dark Empire 2. Dark Empire 2. I know I have Dark Empire 1 somewhere. So, yeah, I fucking hated Dark Empire. Hated it. It didn't make any sense. But again, this was fucking almost 30 years ago. So I'm hoping that maybe I was just looking at it from
A certain point of view?
Yeah, a certain point of view. And that it'll make more sense this time around. Fuck, I don't see it. Okay, these can't be all my Star Wars comics. Fucking hell.
All the ones in the boxes are definitely mine. I don't think you put any of yours in there.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of Star Wars shit that's in this fucking room is I have this, like, does anybody watch the Zizu? Yeah, Scott uses Anchor.fm.
Okay.
What the fuck? The Life Aquatic, right, with Steve Zissou. and there's this part of it. It's Bill Murray.
Well, right. I've seen the movie.
Yeah. So when he says, "Let me show you," let me show you my boat, and it like pans back and it has all like the different layers of the boat, and it's like a it's Wes Anderson, right? So it's like hand drawn thing, and it's got like goes in, and you can see like people and the interns with their fucking the fucking topless intern and all that shit. That's what this reminds me of. We should do like take a pan with the camera. Let's just show us the studio.
Comics down there? No. All right, so I don't want to have to subscribe to Marvel Unlimited for a month just to do Dark Empire. I know I had those fucking comics at one point.
Maybe you threw them away because you didn't like them.
It very well could be. God damn it, Reggie Ray. Oh, that's the thing I forgot to mention for my week.
What?
You know what hit Amazon Prime? Not Another Teen Movie. That movie is so good. So there was a string of... Hold on, Can you see me? What did you do to the cameras?
I did that. I don't want to mess with my camera.
Hold on. Oh, I just got a delay.
Ass.
No, but so there was this string of like shitty parody movies that came out like in the mid 2000s, but it all started with Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie. Right. The first one was fucking brilliant.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah, and then Not Another Teen Movie came out right after that, also fucking hilarious. And then they started doing like Scary Movie 2, 3, and then all kinds of other.
It was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, then they got into all other kinds of parody movies. But, the first Scary Movie.
Well, the Wayans brothers needed fucking income. So.
Well, yeah, and they did a really good job too. And then, but Not Another Teen Movie, I think is so underrated. And it's fucking hilarious. And I didn't realize, like, how many quotable lines are in that movie and how often I fucking use those in my day-to-day life.
Without even realizing.
Without even thinking about it until I rewatched it the other day. And I'm like, oh my God, I say that all the fucking time. Like, God damn it, Reggie Ray.
Well, that's the thing. Like, those movies, it's so incorporated into your daily vernacular. And you almost forget where it fucking originated from.
Yeah, and... To those of you who are still in the stream, Amazon Prime, if you haven't seen Not Another Teen Movie, or if you haven't seen it in a while, like this movie's 20 years old now, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Go back and rewatch it. So good. Oh my God. I'm sitting there laughing my ass off. Kristen's probably looking at me like I'm a fucking lunatic as I'm over there with my fucking headphones on, playing a video game and watching a movie at the same time because I got 3 monitors now. Just go back and watch it. Just good shit. Put the kids to bed first. Not
a kids movie.
Not a kids movie. Yeah. That's why they say Not Another Teen Movie, because it's not for teens or kids. So, what you doing there? Oh, is this where you actually empty the tote and then you take it home?
Because the tote was being annoying. So, fuck this tote. Scott sent us his He sent us his address. So,
all right. Again, I have thoughts about that.
Okay.
Things that I want to do.
All right. Well, we should share said thoughts sooner than later, so we don't fucking run.
Well, between you and I want it to be a surprise.
Well, that's what I mean. Who's still in there?
According to StreamYard, we've still got 6 people watching.
What you fools? Why are you still watching us?
Definitely Scott still.
Hi.
Potentially Lunar Girl. Haven't seen it in years. Yeah. It's fucking hilarious. Marilyn Manson covered Tainted Love for that. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Isaac! Hey, he got in a little late.
Hey!
Yeah, you're a little late. The actual episode is long over.
Yeah.
But now we're just doing the after party, so to speak.
I gotta work on my Babu Freak.
Hey! What? Hey! I don't know. I can't do voices as much as I'd like to.
Party earlier. for whatever reason, I was thinking about how drunk I was in the last episode, so I was doing Barney.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Coming over. I think I'm.
Helmet fire.
He's been here. He's been here the whole
has he?
time. Interesting background noise. I try and build. I'm trying to build you your own crawl.
Ooh, what now?
So Helmet Fire is he's putting together the video for the change of command. Like really, it looks it's really really good. It's gonna be fucking awesome. The 305th OG, they did their change of command virtually, right? And it sucked. Like I know Helmet Fire worked on it a little bit to make it somewhat passable, but it's not gonna light a candle to our commander's change of command.
And he's working on that.
Oh yeah, he's doing all the stuff. Really really good.
What are you using, Camtasia? Like what video editing software? Are you
No,
using?
he just FCXL or something. Like he said there was like a
Chino XL. Fuck you too.
What the fuck was that? You know
fuck
what?
you. Fuck Mobby.
Oh, what the fuck?
If anybody knows that reference.
FCPX.
Okay.
I don't know what we turned them on to the audio stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking mess. You probably want to take the porters back inside. How they got all the way to fuck over here, to be honest. Probably saw my through behind me and my junk. We forgot to turn on the fucking sign.
I was gonna say, with as drunk as you were, nothing would surprise me. Last week.
Hey!
Oh, I gotta piss too. All right, should we cut the stream?
Yeah, Final Cut Pro X, tweaking some of the audio through Logic X. So I guess it's the whole thing. I'm probably going to use Camtasia when I do my knives thing. My plan is to.
Do you still have that license I gave you?
I had one through school.
Okay.
So
remember you used that one license that I had?
I did. I used that until I was in a class where they gave us a license through Embry Riddle. So. Good night.
All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna cut it. So good night, everybody who's still in the chat. Scott, Luna Girl, Isaac, Helmet Fire.
Now the chat's unfrozen.
And whoever the other three mystery people are that are still watching us. So
weirdos peering into our lives.
No. But we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
She's like, now the chat is unfrozen.
Right.
We're about to sign off.
No, not unfrozen, unfronzen. It's fancy.
Unfrozen.
It's fancier.
Unfrozen.
That's my name is Hans. Franz.
Oh, I gotta shave tonight.
You up?
I have to go to work tomorrow, so I gotta shave. All of this. Say goodbye to these, because it's the last time.
All right, kids, we're out.
Yep. Have a good night.
Peace.